I never thought I'd be the guy telling his story on a relationship advice subreddit, but here I am. Maybe it's just to get this off my chest, or maybe to warn someone else about the kind of betrayal I never saw coming. It started like any other story, me, her, a future we'd been planning for what felt like forever. We met in college, fell hard, and by the time we got engaged, I was convinced she was my person. We'd been through so much together, late nights, fights, making each other laugh until tears streamed down our faces. Everything seemed perfect, or so I thought. We were supposed to get married in a few weeks. I'd already picked the venue, the catering, the invites, all the little details that make a wedding real. I remember how I'd wake up with that stupid grin on my face, feeling lucky. But then that gut feeling crept in, the one I'd learned to ignore. You know, the one, like a warning signal just shy of a scream. It was a Tuesday afternoon when I started to notice things. Small things at first, her phone buzzing nonstop, her suddenly being busy with her sister's family, dodging my questions about her whereabouts. She'd say she was at her sister, helping with a baby or catching up. Nothing suspicious, really, just little things that didn't sit right anymore. Then came the day I decided to check her phone. I know, big mistake, but I was desperate. I slipped into her purse when she wasn't looking, heart pounding like a drum. That's when I saw the messages, the texts that made my stomach turn. Flirty, intimate messages, things she never said to me. But it wasn't just that. The last photo she sent was her, lipstick, disheveled, lying on her sister's bed, and her hand was tangled in someone's hair. My heart stopped. I stared at it, breath caught, feeling like I'd been punched in the gut. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think. My hands went clammy and my vision blurred around the edges. How could she? How could she do this to me just weeks before our wedding? And to make it worse, I recognized the guy in the picture, my best friend, the guy I'd trusted more than anyone. We'd grown up together. He was like a brother to me. And here I was, looking at them together in my bed like was some sick joke. I didn't say anything right away. I just stared, my mind racing, trying to process what I'd just seen. My chest felt heavy, like a thick weight pressing down. I clenched my fists so tight my nails dug into my palms. How could I have missed the signs? How could she have betrayed me like this, right under my nose? That night, I sat alone in the dark. The house was silent except for the hum of the refrigerator and the pounding in my head. I kept replaying those messages over and over. Every word, every lie she told me about her perfect family, her busy schedule, all of it was a lie, the trust gone, the future shattered. And now I was left with nothing but broken vows and a mind full of questions I'd never get answers to. I knew then that I had to do something. I couldn't just let it slide. I couldn't pretend this was just a mistake, because it was. It was betrayal on a scale I never imagined. The worst part, the guy I called a brother had been the one to do it. That betrayal cut deep. It's one thing to get cheated on, but to find out the person you trusted most turned out to be the villain. That's a different kind of pain. I couldn't sleep that night. My stomach was knotty, my palms sweaty. I kept thinking about how I'd confront her, what I'd say, how I'd make her see that I knew. But more than that, I was already planning my revenge. I couldn't let this go. Not without making sure she understood that trust, once broken, can't be mended so easily. I decided I'd gather everything I needed. Evidence, proof, whatever would make her realize she'd messed with the wrong guy, because I wasn't going to lie down and accept this. Not without setting things straight, even if it means burning the whole thing to the ground. And that's where I am now, just waiting for the right moment to strike, with my fists clenched and my mind racing. I don't want to destroy her, not really. But I do want her to feel the fallout of what she's done. And I want my dignity back. That's the only thing left now. The days that followed felt like walking through a fog. Everything was numb, yet every tiny detail stuck out like a splinter. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I closed my eyes I saw her face in that photo, her lips parted, her hair messy, lying there like she belonged to someone else. The betrayal wasn't just in the photo, it was in the silence that followed, in the way everything between us had crumbled in an instant. I knew I had to confront her. Sitting on the edge of my bed, I stared at my phone for what felt like hours. My fingers trembled as I finally texted her, just 3 words: "We need to talk." No explanation, no sugarcoating. I didn't want to hear her stories about her busy schedule anymore. I was done pretending. She called me back within minutes, her voice breathless. "What's wrong? Did you see something?" she asked, trying to sound innocent. It made my stomach churn. How could she pretend? How could she lie so effortlessly? I took a deep breath. "Yeah, I saw everything. The messages, the photos. You lied to me about being at your sister. You've been cheating on me with my best friend. How long has this been going on?" The silence on her end was deafening. Then came the trembling voice, a mixture of guilt and defiance. "It's not what it looks like. No," I cut her off. "You don't get to spin this. I saw the truth. You lied, you cheated, and you betrayed everything we had, so don't bother trying to deny it." The line went dead for a moment before she finally spoke. "I didn't mean for it to happen. It was a mistake. I swear I love you." That made my stomach turn even more. Love after this. I couldn't believe what I was hearing, because love doesn't cheat and betray. Love doesn't lie in my bed with someone I trusted like family. I knew I needed to think clearly. I couldn't just lash out blindly, but I also couldn't let her manipulate me anymore. My mind raced, searching for the best way to handle this. I wanted her to feel the weight of what she'd done, but I also wanted to do it on my terms. Later that night, I started gathering evidence, screenshots of the text messages, copies of the photos. I wanted everything documented. I didn't want to give her any room to deny her guilt later. I also decided I'd need to cut off contact with her entirely. No more excuses, no more explanations, just a clean break. The next day, I arranged to meet her in a public place, coffee shop, quiet enough so no one could overhear. I wanted to confront her face to face, no hiding behind screens. When she arrived, her eyes were red, her hands trembling. "You lied to me for weeks," I said coldly. "You told me you loved me, that you were committed. Then I find you in my bed, lying there like it was your right. Do you even realize how much you hurt me?" She looked down, tears spilling over. "I didn't want to lose you. I was stupid. I thought I could fix it. We were arguing and I just didn't think it through." "Fix it?" I scoffed. "You think cheating on me is something I can just forgive? That's not how trust works. You broke it and I don't know if I can ever get that back." That's when I told her I knew about her and my friend. Her face went pale. She whispered. "Yes, I saw everything, the messages, the photos, and I want you to understand this. I don't want to be with someone who manipulates me, who lies to my face, who sleeps around with my best friend. So I'm done. Done with the lies, done with the betrayal." Her eyes widened with horror. "You're not going to forgive me." I shook my head slowly. "No, I want out, and I want her, your sister, or whoever you've been lying to know everything, because I don't want to be blindsided again." She looked like she wanted to say something, but the words wouldn't come out. Instead, she just nodded, defeated, and got up to leave. I stayed there for a moment, watching her walk away, feeling a strange mixture of relief and emptiness. I had finally taken control, but I knew this wasn't the end. I'd thought about revenge from the moment I saw that photo. I wanted her to feel what I felt: humiliated, betrayed, broken. And I'd start with something simple but effective: spreading the truth, exposing her to everyone she cared about. I already had the evidence I needed. I'd make sure she understood that once trust is shattered, it's almost impossible to put back together. And I'd make it clear that I wasn't the fool she once thought I was. This was just the beginning of my plan. The moment I walked away from her in that coffee shop, I felt a strange sense of clarity mixed with a simmering rage. It wasn't just about ending the relationship. I wanted her to understand the full weight of what she'd done. The betrayal, the lies, the fake love, everything. I wasn't going to let her walk away without consequences. That night, I stayed up late, poring over everything I had: screenshots, messages, even a few voice notes I'd secretly recorded. My plan was simple but brutal. I'd expose her publicly, destroy her reputation, and make sure she felt the same pain I'd endured. I knew I had to be smart about it. I wasn't interested in some petty revenge that would fade in a week. No, I wanted her to feel the sting, to become a cautionary tale she'd regret for a long time. I started by crafting a detailed post on social media. It was perfect, just vague enough to pique curiosity, but packed with enough evidence that anyone who followed her would see the truth. I kept it concise, honest, and direct. No insults, no excess emotion, just facts laid out plainly. The key was to make her reputation take a hit, not just for me, but for everyone who thought she was better than that. But I also knew that would only go so far. People forget, rumors fade, and eventually she'd try to spin her side. So I decided to go further, sending copies of the evidence to her friends, her family, anyone who mattered. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just angry, I was strategic. I wanted her to realize that her actions had consequences, that I wasn't going to let her get away with it. I remember the cold sweat on my palms as I drafted the messages. I chose my words carefully. No emotional outbursts, just facts. I sent her sister a message, explaining everything I'd uncovered. I didn't expect much from her, but I wanted her to know the truth. I also sent a message to her best friend, the one she'd cheated with. I told him I knew what he did, and if he ever contacted me again, I'd make sure everyone knew how he betrayed a friend. The next morning, I hit send on all these messages. I sat back, feeling the adrenaline coursing through me. It's a strange feeling, relief mixed with anger. I'd finally taken control. The damage was done. I'd made sure everyone knew she was a liar and a cheat, but I wanted her to feel the biggest impact, public humiliation. So I decided that I'd confront her again, but this time with everything laid out. I'd give her the chance to see what she'd lost. I called her, asking her to meet me at the same coffee shop. She hesitated but finally agreed. When she arrived, her face was pale, eyes wide with guilt. I kept my tone even, cold, almost clinical. "You lied, you cheated, and now everyone knows," I said. "I want you to see what your betrayal cost you." She looked like she wanted to argue, but she knew the truth was staring her in the face. I handed her a folder, screenshots, messages, photos, all the evidence I'd collected. "This is what I'm exposing," I told her. "I want you to understand that trust isn't something you can just break and walk away from, not without consequences." Her hands trembled as she looked at the evidence. Tears streamed down her face, but I felt nothing but cold resolve. This was the end of the line for us. She had made her choice, and now she had to live with it. As she left, I watched her disappear into the distance, feeling the weight lift from my shoulders. The fallout was already starting. Friends unfollowed her. Her reputation was sinking. I knew it wouldn't erase the pain, but it would remind her that betrayal doesn't come without a price. Now I sit here thinking about everything. The broken trust, the shattered vows, the lies. I realize revenge isn't just about punishment, it's about reclaiming your dignity when someone tries to destroy it. I've done that, but I know the scars will stay. That's the cost of betrayal, but it's also the lesson. Trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to mend. The aftermath of my actions was immediate and intense. Social media was buzzing. People I didn't even know were messaging me, saying they saw what I posted. Some friends reached out to offer support. Others just silently unfollowed her or blocked her. Her world was crumbling fast. That was exactly what I wanted. She needed to feel the consequences of her betrayal, and I wanted her to realize that trust, once shattered, doesn't just repair itself with apologies or tears. But even with her reputation in free fall, I knew I couldn't just walk away from this and pretend everything was over. No, I needed to reinforce the message. Part of me still felt bitter, angry, and betrayed. I wanted her to see that I wasn't just lashing out in a moment of pain. I was taking control, making sure she understood that her choices had real, lasting consequences. So I arranged a final meeting, just a quick, decisive encounter. I wanted to be clear, to put an end to whatever hope she might have had that she could come back, fix things, or spin her way out of this mess. I didn't want to scream or yell. I just wanted to deliver my message and make sure she understood she lost me, her integrity, and maybe even her reputation. When she showed up that afternoon, her face looked exhausted, eyes red-rimmed. She looked like a prisoner, trapped in her own guilt. I kept my voice calm, almost clinical. "I want to give you one last chance to hear this directly," I said. "You betrayed me, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You made your choices, and now you have to live with the fallout." She looked down, her voice trembling. "I didn't mean for it to happen. I was stupid, and I was wrong." "That's the thing," I responded. "You were stupid. You let something fake and fleeting destroy what we had, and you think a sorry will fix that. It doesn't work that way. The damage is done, and I'm done with it." I handed her a set of keys to my apartment, my car, my life. "Take these," I said, voice steady, And don't come back, I don't want to see you again, you lost my trust forever." Her eyes widened. She looked like she wanted to say something, but she knew better. I'd made up my mind. I didn't want to hear her apologies or explanations. I just wanted her gone. I watched her take the keys, her trembling fingers clutching them like a lifeline, then walk away. Without another word. Once she was gone, I felt a strange emptiness. The house was quiet, too quiet. I knew I'd have to rebuild from this somehow, trust myself again, find a way to heal. But for now, I just sat in my chair and stared at the walls I'd called home for years. It was strange how one person's betrayal could feel like the end of everything, but also the start of something new. In the days that followed, I focused on what mattered, myself. I told a few close friends what had happened, and surprisingly they were angry not at me but at her. That made me feel a little less alone. I realized that I didn't need to cling to the past or to someone who didn't value me enough to be honest. I also started thinking about what I'd learned. Trust isn't something you can take for granted. It's fragile like glass. You can look at it, admire it, but one wrong move and it shatters. Once broken, it's almost impossible to put back together. That's why you have to protect it fiercely, and when someone breaks it, the only option is to walk away. I still feel the sting. Of course, the pain of betrayal doesn't just disappear overnight, but I'm gradually healing. Every day I remind myself that I'm better off without her, that I deserve honesty, respect, and someone who values me enough not to cheat in my bed with my best friend. Looking back, I realize I could have handled things differently. Maybe I should have confronted her sooner, or maybe I should have never trusted her in the first place. But what I do know is this: I'm stronger now. And I won't let someone else's betrayal define me. If there's any advice I could give to someone in a similar situation, it's this: trust is precious. Protect it, but don't be naive. When it's broken, don't hesitate to cut ties and rebuild. Because in the end, your dignity and self-respect are what matter most. And no amount of betrayal can take that away if you refuse to let it. It's been a few weeks since I handed her those keys and cut her out of my life. Honestly, I thought I'd feel relief, like I finally shut the door on that chapter and could start healing. Instead, I've felt a strange mix of emptiness and clarity. The house is quiet, too quiet. The silence reminds me of what I lost but also what I gained. My sense of self, my boundaries, my dignity. I won't lie. There are moments when I want to call her, to hear her voice, to understand why she did it. But I also know that giving in to those urges would only let her manipulate me again. So I block those thoughts out and focus on moving forward. I've started seeing a therapist, not because I'm broken, but because I want to reclaim myself. Rebuilding trust in someone new isn't easy, but I need to remind myself that not everyone is like her. What's been surprising is how much clarity I got from removing her from my life. It's like I finally see everything in sharp focus. The red flags I ignored, the little lies I brushed aside, now they glare at me. I should have seen them, of course. I should have listened to my gut, but I was so caught up in the idea of us that I ignored the warning signs. That was my mistake. But now I'm learning. I'm healing. One thing I did was reach out to some friends I hadn't talked to in a while. Not just to vent, but to reconnect with the people who genuinely care about me. Their support has been vital. They told me, "You're better off without her. Don't let her win by keeping her in your mind." That stuck with me. Losing her was painful, but it also opened my eyes to how much of myself I'd lost trying to hold on to a relationship built on lies. I've also started setting new boundaries. I refuse to let anyone manipulate or betray me like that again. If someone shows even a hint of dishonesty or disrespect, I cut them loose immediately. That's the only way I know I can keep myself safe, emotionally, mentally, physically. And it's working. Slowly, I'm rebuilding my life around honesty, respect, and trust in myself. Most days, I wake up feeling stronger. I still get hit with flashes of anger or regret. Those are normal. But I remind myself that I did the right thing. Ending things was painful but necessary. I realize now more than ever that I can survive betrayal. I can come out the other side better, smarter, more cautious. I also started focusing on my passions again, hiking, reading, and even taking up a new hobby. It's amazing how much comfort I find in simple things. I never thought I'd say this, but I'm grateful for the wake-up call. It forced me to look inward to evaluate what I want out of life and who I want to be. The biggest lesson I've learned: trust is a gift. When it's broken, the only real choice is whether you let it destroy you or you use it as a lesson. I chose the latter. I won't forget what happened, but I refuse to carry the weight of her betrayal forever. Because at the end of the day, I am the only one responsible for my happiness, and I won't let someone like her take that away from me again. So if you're reading this and going through something similar, know this. It hurts, it's devastating, but it's also a chance. A chance to rebuild, to reassess, and to find strength you didn't know you had. Trust is fragile. Once broken, it's almost impossible to fix. But you and only you control what comes next, and I choose to move forward stronger than ever, looking back. Now I realize that this whole mess was a brutal but necessary lesson. Sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to see what really matters. I thought I knew who she was, who we were, but that illusion shattered so completely that it forced me to face the reality I'd been ignoring. Trust isn't something you can take for granted. It's fragile, delicate, and something you have to guard fiercely. Since I cut her out of my life, I've made it a point to rebuild from the ground up, not just my house, but myself. I've learned to listen to that little voice inside that warns you when something's off. I've learned that silence can be deafening when you've been betrayed, but it can also be a balm that helps you heal. The truth is, revenge isn't just about hurting someone who hurt you. It's about reclaiming your power when someone tries to strip it away. It's about showing yourself that no matter how deep the betrayal, you can come back stronger. I handed her the keys, cut her loose, and walked away knowing I'd taken control of my story again. Now I focus on what really matters: my friends, my passions, my future. I've started trusting again, but slowly. This time smarter. I've learned that trust must be earned, not given freely. And if someone shows signs of betrayal, I won't hesitate to walk away. That's the lesson I want everyone to remember. Protect your heart, guard your trust, and never let anyone make you feel less than you deserve. There's a strange peace in knowing I didn't let her destroy me. Instead, I used what she gave me, pain, betrayal, heartbreak, to become someone stronger. Someone who learned that sometimes the greatest act of love is walking away from what's broken. Because in the end, your integrity and self-respect are all you really have. Protect them fiercely. So, to anyone reading this who's in the middle of their own heartbreak or betrayal, know this: you're not alone, and you're stronger than you think. The pain will fade, the wounds will heal, and one day, you'll look back and see that you're better off without the people who don't see your worth. Trust is fragile, yes, but your dignity is. And that's what truly matters.